Welcome back to another episode of The Lost Games, and today we will talk about another Square Enix classic, Threads of Fate. Threads of Fate, also known as Do Prism in Japan, is an RPG released for the original PlayStation back in 1999 by Square, who should have their own category of Lost Games series by now. It is a story about Rue and Mint and their desire for a mystical object called the Relic. Both of these main characters have different reasons as to why they need the Relic, with Rue wanting to revive his dead friend Claire, and Mint, who is a princess that wants to reclaim her right to the throne from her sister Maya. You can choose to play as either one of the characters when you start the game. These characters are actually very different, as Rue is described as kind and reliable and always willing to help everyone in need. His primary weapon is an axe, and he has the ability to transform into monsters that he defeats. Meanwhile, Princess Mint is described as arrogant and bold and someone who would do anything to reach her goal. She wasn't originally designed this way and was actually to be the main character to appeal to female audiences. She fights her enemies with two big hoop rings and can cast magical spells. Threads of Fate was designed with the idea of playing two stories that take place at the same time and location. The development team had a hard time naming the game, as they wanted to make sure the word prism was added to the end of whatever the name would be. Another crazy fact is that the director Koji Sugimoto was chosen to direct this game because he was bad at action games. The developers wanted a children's game inspired by dreams and imagination. Sugimoto insisted on brighter themes and made sure that the game moved away from the traditional dark themes and scary music. In fact, the entire game is designed to be very basic to keep it in an easy difficulty level. Probably more than the game itself, the soundtrack was highly praised. It was composed by Junya Nakano, who worked on several games for Square Enix. Nakano described how the experience that he gained making the music for Threads of Fate helped create the music for Final Fantasy X, and that it would have been very difficult without it. The soundtrack had two discs, cleverly named Rue and Mint. Threads of Fate would end up being re-released in 2010 on the PlayStation Network as part of Square Enix Legendary Hits label. But unfortunately, we have not seen a sequel or remake ever again, so what happened? Threads of Fate 2 had never been announced or spoken about, but with fans digging around, we have a very good idea as to what it was supposed to be. The sequel was to be centered around Mint's younger sister, Maya, as a playable character in a strange tale where the focus would be on her and another character similar to the first game. The idea and sequel was turned down by Square Enix, and here's why. Yes, the game was stunning and debatably beautiful in its own way, and it did receive great reviews and rankings, but it did not sell as well as many RPGs that Square had. Based on this and the fact that the game was merely a kid's game that they had very little faith on, and the fact that other games became so big around the time like Final Fantasy VIII and Chrono Cross, it was hard for them to greenlight a sequel when these games were already bringing in the big bucks. So, unfortunately, the sequel was never made, and neither was the manga series that was being worked on for the story. Threads of Fate or Duprism became another one of those series that have never been revived. The last time we saw anything about Threads of Fate came from a cameo in a mobile game called Rampage Land Rankers by Square Enix and developers Hexadrive. We spoke about Hexadrive on the Parasite Eve Lost Games video, where we detailed how their work on the third birthday was heavily criticized. Rampage Land Rankers was a free-to-play mobile strategy game released for Android and iOS, but was terminated in 2016. So what do you think? Did you ever play and enjoy Threads of Fate? Is this a game that deserves a revival? Please let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this at GameCircleTv. Yes, we may have lost Threads of Fate, but we haven't lost the chance to change the fates of these classic games, as we can still bring them back. Stay true to yourself, friends, and keep gaming.